Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Hope all is well and hope everyone is having a great week. Again, you found us here at the TALRadio platform, short for Touch of Life Foundation. We hope you're enjoying all the great content here across the TALRadio platform, covering all different types of topics in business, as well as also on the personal side. So again, you can listen to the shows not only in English, but also Hindi and other various languages in India. So we are so happy that you are here with us here at Business Influencers. We've been around now for over 4 years, serving executives and businesses and helping them to raise their level of influence to the next level. Our show continues to be supported by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a network that does not require you to be like how you would show up on other social media platforms. You get to generate genuine, authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about finding your leadership voice. Yes, now not only when you communicate, but also when speaking. And as a professional speaker myself, I can't tell you how important that is when we talk about the concept of leadership. Well, we're here with the right person here today. We're going to be talking to David Pope. He's an executive voice coach. He has spent the last 30 years immersed in all things voice, beginning his career in London at the BBC. He has since worked in commercials, documentaries, TV series, and radio drama, both in the UK and Hong Kong. And as an executive voice coach, producer, director, and voiceover artist, he understands the impact of the spoken word. Not only what needs to be said, but how it must be delivered. Now, he coaches across a full spectrum of voice and presence programs. He has created over the last 20 years public speaking skill workshops, storytelling for business workshops, online video courses, one-to-one executive vocal skills sessions, and Speak Up Youth programs. He uses his many years of experience to teach key voice, presence, and storytelling skills to his clients, helping them to maximize the vocal impact, increasing their confidence as speakers, and enhance their executive presence. And he has helped many great speakers become even better speakers. Now, I can keep going on and on because he has worked with many Fortune 500, 1,000 type companies worldwide, and his credentials are, I can spend 30 minutes just going through the credentials. But with that being said, you're going to get to know him a little better, and all of his information will be in the show notes. And without further ado, we welcome David Pope to the show. David, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much, Chris, for inviting me to be on your show. Wonderful. Really looking forward to our chat.
Thank you so much for being here. And I know you are all the way in Asia. Here we are in the United States. You and I are operating completely on opposite time zones right now, but we're here. We're here to give value. And, we always like to start with the backstory of what you're going to share today about finding your leadership voice. Maybe talk a little bit about your journey, what led you up into what you're doing today to help others see the value in their voice and how they lead effectively.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Well, yes, as you mentioned, I'm over in Asia. So I'm here in Hong Kong. I came to Hong Kong potentially for 6 months, and that was 32 years ago. So I managed to build a career and a very successful business over in this part of the world, and I absolutely love it. But the backstory, I started off in London. And even before I worked for the BBC, my first job when I graduated, I moved down to London and I became a runner for a video production company. Now, we're talking the late 80s, and this is when MTV was like booming. It was an amazing time for me. And, starting out in my career, and for those people who don't know what a runner is, you're basically kind of the dog's body in the lowest of the low in the production company. So I was literally running around Soho. I'd be on video shoots over at places like Pinewood Studios, And I would be getting things for everybody. And one of the things I had to get was coffee. And I realized that I was absolutely dreadful at making coffee. I don't know how people would survive nowadays. They were the frappuccinos and the almond milks and the this and that. And I realized I just didn't really want to do this. I was very lucky. I was working with some great bands for Wham, George Michael, and Aha, Dire Straits. And then my director, he went off to Hollywood, actually. And at that point, I was thinking, well, look, what am I going to do? I don't really like this sort of environment. And I got offered a job at the BBC. And that's really where my love of voice began, because I started working in documentaries and TV series. And I was very fortunate, actually. I was the assistant film editor on the first ever BBC HBO co-production. And then I did what every young person does as their career is beginning. I decided to go traveling. My parents thought I was completely nuts. I ended up in Hong Kong, and I think it's the best decision I ever made. So as you mentioned before, when you were kindly reading out a little bit about me, so I started off as a producer and a director, so working with professional voiceover talent. Really getting them to hone their voice to be able to give the client exactly what they wanted. So that was my job, to make sure that they were speaking in an engaging way, with the correct volume, the correct timbre, all of these things. Fast forward, and probably it was about time-wise, about 18 years ago, I started getting calls from people in Hong Kong saying things like, look, I've seen your website. I see you do this thing around voice. I work in corporate communications. I'm in banking. I'm in legal. I'm terrified of public speaking. My boss has told me that I've got to up my communication skills if I want to be considered for promotion. I get really nervous and my voice cracks. Can you help me? All of these things. And what I realized, actually, they wanted me to help them. And I thought, you know what? I've got the skills and the techniques. I've been doing this for many, many years. In fact, I worked out recently, I've spent 30,000 hours in recording studios. So, I've done the graft, Chris. And I realized that actually I can bring these skills into the corporate space. And that really is how I built my business, All Voice Talent, where I work specifically with senior leaders, middle management, new grads coming up through the organization. So really helping people to harness the power of their own voice. And I'm still passionate about it. So I love it. Love the work that I do.
I can tell that you're like me, because I'm a professional speaker and I'm so passionate about speaking, helping others in the area. And I can totally read that in your eyes, in your body language, your tone of voice. And all of those things I think are also, if you could talk about like how important our voice is, why, leaders don't have to be a professional speaker, but knowing how to speak to their peers, to other superiors, could be the public, could be to their customers, and knowing how to do that, is the difference with them being here, if, for the people that are watching the video portion of this show, than up here. So can you talk a little bit about how important that is and why it's important? Because I can sense that. I've run across hedge fund partners where they're really good at like what they do, but now you get them in a room to talk to more than 5, potential institutional investors, and they're like a deer in the headlights, and and then they don't come across as confident like they would if they were just talking to somebody they knew.
Great question. So, the thing is, like, good speakers are able to change their voice according to content and also according to audience. And as you mentioned, the idea of people, they might come across, if we see them first time, we think, wow, they're very confident. But let's say they've been promoted up into the C-suite. Now, I'm working a lot, you mentioned hedge funds. I work a lot with financial organizations. I work with global law firms. These people, they're very good. They may be coming from quant backgrounds, science backgrounds, obviously legal. But when they start moving into this higher tranche where they're having to actually go out and potentially be the face of the company as well. This is where I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves. So when I'm working with people, they say to me, oh, I want to speak like X and I want to be like Y. And I go, well, why is that? Well, I see him, I see her, they walk into a room and they sort of light it up. That's the charisma piece. And this takes time to develop. But a lot of these people, and in fact, I had a call with somebody yesterday. He is CEO, and he's being asked to do a lot of video work. And I don't know if you're finding this, Chris, with maybe clients that you've got. They're very competent, maybe speaking in an office environment, but suddenly the comms teams are saying, right, you've got to be the face of the company. We're going to stick a very in your face and you've got to speak to camera. That's a very different way, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it myself where, like they said, they could speak to familiar faces, like if it were like in front of a boardroom or something like that, or around a round table. But now, get in front of a computer and now speak into a video. It's like,
exactly.
Do over.
All of that, you see. And so my modus operandi, the way that I always work with people is very much, my methodology is test, teach, test. And what I do is I get people to bring in something that is work related for them, because it has to be in their voice. Yes, of course I can provide lots of materials, but I want them to hear exactly how they sound. So everything that I do is about the recorded voice. I record the voice, I play it back, and then together we analyze it. And so coming back to this idea of, I want to speak like Y, I want to speak like Z. Well, yes, okay, that's fine. It's good to have a sort of a level that you want to aspire to. But we've all got our own voices, which are authentically ours. And I remember at the very beginning of this show, you talked about the authenticity piece. That is really important as well. So some people, they trip themselves up because they really get in their head of like, oh my goodness, I'm not speaking well enough. Well, you're speaking like who you are.
Who you are.
Exactly. So I'm giving people, in a sense, that confidence to harness their own voice. We work with the skill set that they've got. Yes, I help them a little bit in terms of the vocal variety, in terms of the way that they present themselves more, but I'm wanting people to tap into their own inner strength. And that, to me, that's the true sign of leadership, where you're not pretending to be somebody else, you are authentically yourself. That's all.
Oh, that's so powerful. And, the authenticity is so important, because I think sometimes people feel they got to sometimes be somebody they're not in order to be validated by whatever that is. That could be by the people they serve, maybe the people they work for, whatever. And like you said, it's that authenticity that has the power. It doesn't mean you have to have a voice like Tony Robbins or Les Brown or those types. That you can be who you are and still have that authority, because you come across as relatable. People connect much better with the people who are relatable and that they feel like they've been understood with your authenticity, your presence.
That's absolutely correct. And coming back to that point, I'm British, you're American. We have maybe a different concept of that voice. You mentioned Tony Robbins. I'm based in Asia. I'm working with a lot. I work over in Tokyo. Well, I work down from Australia all the way up through Tokyo, through China, in Thailand, the Philippines, obviously in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and of course in the Middle East. I do a lot of work in Dubai, and the voices there are very, very different. So the aspirational thing, you'll get maybe an Emirati woman. So I was running a workshop with a group of Emirati women in a law firm a few months ago, and they're not going to be like maybe you and I will think like the Tony Robbinses or the Brene Browns, right? They have their own voice as well. And so coming back to what I was saying, it's about having the tools and understanding your own authenticity within your own culture. So where I'm coming from, if let's say I'm working with a Singaporean who has been newly promoted, they are having to speak on the global management team. I'm not going to get them to speak like a strong, engaged, that sort of voice where the aspirational thing we might have in the West. No, I'm wanting them to harness their own voice within their culture as well, because it becomes phony. I mean, Elizabeth Holmes, right? That Theranos, the disgraced CEO of Theranos. If you listen to her voice, that is somebody who was taking that remit of, I've got to sound like this, because I won't be taken seriously. I mean, it's laughable, the pitch is so low, it's so wooden, it sounds so forced, it's absolutely inauthentic. So it's about finding your own voice. That, coming back to it, that's the leadership voice.
It's so true. And like you said, leadership is, leading with the authenticity. And I think that's what builds rapport and that trust factor, to get buy-in, whatever you're speaking on, whether if that's speaking to lead a group, to elevate a team, if that's to create a valuable customer experience, client experience, if that is to get stakeholder buy-in, if that is to raise capital, if you're raising capital from private equity or VCs or angel investors, it's how you talk to them and connect with them that will determine if you are building that rapport and trust and reducing the number of touch points to convert and close whatever that may be.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier when you were reading my bio was about storytelling as well. And I think that's another
Can you
important
share some insights to that? I think that is so important, and how that connects to whoever you're talking with, whatever that challenge is to either to the person or people or the audience, whether if you're a speaker and you're speaking at an industry conference, that it speaks overall to the challenge that audience has that can be better.
Yes,
and the
absolutely.
common result they have that they don't have now.
Absolutely. I mean, it fundamentally goes down to neuroscience as well. It's neural coupling. It's the way that the listener can identify with the speaker's story. And again, working with people who the safety for them is what I call the data dump. It's very easy to get on stage or sit across the boardroom and just give facts. Well, we're all people, right? We connect on that visceral level as well. So being able to intertwine this with stories, it can still get you the solution, but it endears you more to the people. You're not just a wooden person just delivering a factual message. So I think for me as well, we focused on the voice, but for me, I think there's really three areas. For me, it's the trifecta, I like to call it. So there is the voice, a voice that's engaging, that it's inspiring. But there's the presence piece as well, commanding the stage. You mentioned about being on video, the online environment. Everything has changed so much. And the way that we need to move our body, the way that we open up the body. So again, some people I work with, I get them out the front. We'll be rehearsing in a boardroom. And I've worked with like TEDx speakers. At first, they close the body. So it's about opening up the body. And then the third thing is the messaging. Are you able to deliver a message? It's not just a data dump. It's something about, can you get somebody from A to B? Can you inspire them? Can you educate them? And that to me is what makes a great communicator.
They can't agree more. And like you said, I think so many people are conditioned to think that there's a story, whether if it's personal or professional, that the story itself is going to, get buy-in and move people forward. Yeah, it might get them like, wow, that's really touching, or wow, yeah, that really resonated on some level. But now if you can't connect the dots, you may get maybe a standing ovation, a clap, and then everybody leaves the room and it's kind of like, okay, that's it. Everything just ended right there. That's right. They didn't connect the dots with it.
And I think that really shows the difference between a compelling storyteller or somebody who's just out there to create some sort of emotional connection. The idea is you set the story up because that is going to have an impact. There's always going to be a resolution. In business storytelling, there has to be a buy-in. As you said, you're wanting to get somebody from something. Use the story to demonstrate, and this is what it can teach us as a team. And this is how I built a business, blah, blah, blah. You do it like that. That's the connection. A lot of people, they don't do that. They do the first part, but they kind of forget the second part, which is equally as important, if not more.
If you could provide like a checklist, or even maybe some of the first steps that somebody's listening right now that says, oh, you know what, I really could use some help in this area, and so that way, when you provide your contact information here towards the end of the show, which is coming up soon here, I want to make sure that they have an idea what those steps are, because I want them now to reach out to you so they can begin to get a deep dive of what this kind of training and coaching can do to enhance their careers, let alone what they're doing in their role and duties.
Okay, so I think firstly, it's the science of the voice. That's the first thing that people need to tackle. What do I mean by the science of the voice? I'm talking about basically breathing. When people get nervous, the voice goes up into the throat. The breathing gets shallow. So the way that we do exercises when I'm working with people, and I run workshops, and as you mentioned, I've got online videos which look at all of this as well, is we ground the breath. So we bring the breath down into the diaphragmatic area. So this gives us power. And this translates into confidence. So the first thing I would say to people is, if you're somebody that maybe gets a little bit nervous, just focus on really just closing your eyes, grounding yourself, breathing deeper into your stomach. Takes a little bit of practice, but once you've nailed it, that then leads into projection. Projection is having a stronger, more dynamic voice, but not shouting. People think sometimes that shouting is projection. It's not. It's keeping it grounded. So you've got that strength and that resonance in the voice. That translates into authority. So that's the first thing, the science of the voice. The second thing is vocal variety. So what is vocal variety? Intonation, volume, pacing, pausing, and also word stress. I mentioned about recording yourself. So record yourself, play it back, and listen specifically for these things. Are you engaging? Is your intonation up and down, or is it a little bit flat? Because if you're a monotone speaker and you're leading teams, the chances are you're going to lose their interest. So record yourself, listen to that. So we've got the science of the voice, and then we've got vocal variety. And the third piece is about the presence, as I mentioned earlier. And again, if you are getting ready for high stakes events, speaking at a conference, even going for a job interview, getting ready to go into a very meeting which you're very nervous about, video yourself as well. You'll pick up on some of these non-verbal tics. Are you shaking your head around too much? Are you kind of looking up too much? Are you not looking at the audience? Are you using your hands, flailing them about? Or are your gestures underlining your message? So do those three things, and that will really help. I have a whole process of exercises that I give people when I'm preparing them for these large speaking events, and it really does work. It's all about the mindset, Chris, as well.
Absolutely. And this is so powerful. And I wish we had an hour-long show that we can go more in length. And this is why we got to have you come back on another show. And we're going to encourage everybody listening and those listening later that you need to get in contact with David. Just because he's an Asian and you may be here in the United States or North America, no excuse. So first of all, David, I want to thank you first for taking the time to be here, not only from myself, but the rest of the team here at the Touch of Life Foundation. What is the best way that the audience can get in touch with you? What are you up to? And anything that you'd like to provide or share with the audience here as either something you want to offer them, a takeaway, whatever that is that's important for you to share.
Sure. Okay. So my company is called allvoicetalent.com, and you'll find me online, and I provide free resources there. So there's a link where you'll get to download some free videos which gives you self-assessment sheets. So this will really set you up just at the very, very beginning, and you'll find resources there as well, my online videos. If you're somebody that likes to use LinkedIn, I like to use LinkedIn a lot, and you can find me on David Pope, BBC trained executive voice coach. So do please hit me up. But what would be nice is if you do link to me on LinkedIn, do please let me know that you heard me and Chris speaking on the TALRadio. It was always nice to know where we're all connected. So that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing this with us. We highly encourage everybody to take advantage of that offer. Connect with David. We'll make sure all of his contact information will be in the show notes. David, again, thank you so much for being with us.
My absolute pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to taking your level of influence to the next level, whether if you're an individual or business. If you'd like to see future content that we haven't covered, feel free to reach out to our team here at Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. That's Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you here same day, same time next week. Take care.